Have you ever looked at a really complex problem, maybe something at work or even just traffic in your city, and felt completely overwhelmed by all the moving parts? It's so easy to get lost in the weeds. But what if you could zoom out and see the whole picture, like a blueprint, and understand how everything is truly connected? Well, that's the whole idea behind system science. It's a way of thinking that helps us turn simple drawings into powerful tools that can actually change things. Let's dive in. So, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to learn how to see the basic blueprint of any system. Then, we'll move beyond those simple flowcharts and figure out what they're missing. After that, we'll add the most important ingredient of all, people. Then we'll check out the full analyst toolkit and the step-by-step process for analysis. And finally, you'll see how you can start using these ideas in your own world.
I mean, this is the big question, right? How do you wrap your head around something with so many interconnected pieces where one little change over here can cause huge ripples you never even saw coming? This is the exact problem that system science was created to solve.
Okay, so first things first, we have to learn how to actually see the system. Before we can analyze or fix anything, we've got to get all the pieces out on the table and sketch out that basic blueprint.
And that blueprint? It's called a system map. Just think of it like a bird's eye view of everything. It's designed to show us two really simple things. First, the key components, the actual parts or people in the system. And second, the flows that connect them. That could be a flow of information or money or, like we're about to see, water.
Let's make this super clear with something simple, like a home water filter. You've got your input, that's the tap water. It goes through a process, the filter itself, and this creates two outputs, the clean drinking water you want, and of course, some wastewater. It's that simple, right? Input, process, output. And believe it or not, this basic idea is the foundation for mapping out even the most mind-bogglingly complex systems.
Okay, great, but what happens when the system is just a little bigger than a kitchen appliance? What if we're trying to manage the water for an entire region? All of a sudden, that simple flowchart, well, it's a good start, but it's also dangerously incomplete.
And that leads to a really critical question. We've all seen those diagrams, right? The one showing water flowing from a big reservoir out to cities and farms. But is that really a complete picture of the system? Well, if you're an analyst, the answer is a hard no.
And here's why. A typical flow diagram, it's great at showing the what and the where. You see the direction the water is going, you see where the reservoir is, but look at what's missing. You don't see any feedback loops, you don't see any control mechanisms. So what that means is we see the plumbing, but we have no idea how the decisions are being made. We're missing the why.
So to do any real analysis, we have to add these much deeper layers. We need to see the feedback loops, like how a reservoir getting too low actually triggers water restrictions for everyone. We need to see the control mechanisms, the real policies that decide who gets water during a drought. And we have to see the difference between stocks, like the total amount of water in the reservoir, and flows, which is how fast that water is being released.
And all of this brings us to the single most important element in pretty much any real-world system. It's the one thing that makes everything complex and, honestly, interesting. We have to add people to the picture.
Because a water system, or a healthcare system, or a business, it's never just a collection of things like pipes and pumps and reservoirs.
At their core, they are always about people. It's their decisions, their competing goals, and their actions that make any system dynamic, messy, and alive.
In system science, we actually have a formal name for all these human actors. We call them agents. An agent is just anyone who makes a decision that changes the system. So we're talking about farmers, city residents, factory managers, government regulators, you name it.
So what do these agents do? Well, they have goals. A farmer needs water for his crops. They take actions, like opening a gate to let water flow. They make decisions. A city manager might have to ration water. But here is the absolute key. It's all of these individual human choices that create the most powerful and important feedback loops in the entire system.
Okay, so now we have a much richer picture, right? We've got the parts, we've got the flows, and we've got the people. But a map isn't very useful if you don't have the right tools to read it. So let's look at the full analyst toolkit, because this is about way more than just drawing diagrams. You absolutely have to remember this. The system map, the diagram,
It's not the end goal. It's the starting point. It's the map that guides us to a whole bunch of other powerful tools that let us test, predict, and ultimately improve how the whole system works.
And here's just a little peek at that toolkit. Yeah, we start with diagrams to understand the structure, but from there we can build mathematical models to actually predict how things will behave over time. We can use powerful simulations like agent-based models to test out all kinds of what-if scenarios. And we use knowledge tools just to keep all of this crazy complexity organized.
So, we have our map, we have our tools. Now what? This is the good part. This is the payoff. Now we get to move from just describing what the system is to truly understanding why it behaves the way it does. See, the entire goal of all this analysis is to find the system's leverage points. You can think of these as the sweet spots, those little places in that complex web where one small, smart push can create huge, positive changes across the entire system.
And this isn't just guesswork. There's a real structured process for this. You start by making sure your model is even accurate in the first place. Then you analyze its structure, its feedback loops, and how it's going to react under pressure. It's only then, with that really deep understanding, that you can find those leverage points, test different policies, and finally propose concrete ways to make the system better.
So we've gone on this journey from a simple picture to a full-blown analytical framework. But the real power of thinking this way isn't just in figuring out water basins. It's about applying it to your world.
And look, if there is one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. You cannot effectively change a system that you do not understand. Doesn't matter if it's a workflow at your job, a problem in your community, or even a personal habit. Understanding how all the pieces connect is always the first step to making things better.
So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Just look around you, at your work, in your community, even your own daily routines. What are the invisible feedback loops, the hidden connections and decisions that are shaping your world? Because the moment you start to see them, you've already started thinking like a systems analyst.